Welcome back. Now we come to Thursday's lesson, which addresses the issue of judgment and the character of God. One of the things I personally encourage people to do when they read their Bibles is to ask themselves this one question: what does this passage teach me about who God is? After all, the whole point of Jesus' ministry was to show us who God is. So let me ask, when you hear that word judgment, what comes to mind? Do you think of punishment or do you think of love? Well, I believe that all depends on how you define the word judgment. If you think of judgment as the act of judging someone based on their behavior, then judgment might very well bring with it punishment. After all, the Bible does say we're all guilty of sin. And the wages paid by sin? Well, it's death. But what if the purpose of the judgment is simply to prove that salvation works? That the sacrifice of Christ on the cross actually does forgive and remove our sin? That when God looks over his people, what he sees are those whose sins are forgiven because of the cross of Christ, while it actually saves. Think about what happens when we stop making the judgment about us and we start making it about Jesus. What if in fact the judgment is not about our sin, but it's about Jesus and his righteousness? What if the judgment is not about our guilt, but about Jesus' ability to save? You see, Hebrew justice was unlike anything before or after it. Now the funny thing is, in the Hebrew justice system, you had accusers and prosecutors, but you didn't have defense attorneys. So it was up to the judge to defend you. Now imagine what would happen to our legal system if it was the judge's sworn duty to defend you. That it was the judge's sworn duty to do everything in his power to prove your innocence. How would you feel about that? Here's the thing. This is exactly how God's justice system works. You see, the point of today's lesson is that Jesus has proven his right to defend you against your accuser, Satan himself. And if Christ is both our judge and defense attorney, then you can always count on this one thing. Judgment will always be given in our favor. It will be given in our favor because Jesus took our guilt and in exchange, he gifted us his righteousness and innocence. The judgment is not about you or I. It's about Jesus and his ability to save. Well, that's our nugget for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a look at your Sabbath school lesson.